Nobility in France, in pre-revolutionary France to be exact, was like living the dreams. Nobles could get away with things that peasants couldn't even dream of getting away with. But everything that has a positive side always has a negative side. As a noble, you couldn't be seen working a peasant job or a trade, or like that could be like the end of you, of your reputation in like high society, everything. So they had to find different ways of getting money. Most of them had to depend on like making political favors with people in higher positions to get like official positions to earn money, or just scramble around to get any way they could to get money. And that kind of like environment, that kind of like society would breed desperation, because you are stuck in one place. You cannot just work any ordinary job just to get money to feed yourself. And you know that when there's scarcity, there is always competition. There will always be that person that is like more connected or more favored than you are. And so eventually desperation will kind of take over, and then people would turn to like crimes like scamming and such, just to get the money that they need to survive. So a lot of nobles were rich in name but not rich like in their bank account. They were not rich in cash at all. And see, I'm going to talk about one of those scammers today. I've read about a lot of scams, but I don't think I've ever seen or read about someone with as much audacity as this lady has. She almost got the queen arrested. Before we get into the video, please don't forget to like this video. It really helps my video in the algorithm, helps it get it seen by more people. Thank you. Please enjoy. Today we're going to talk about Jeanne de la Motte. See, disclaimer, there are a lot of French names in this video, and I tried to listen to as much pronunciation as I could, but there is no certainty that I will actually get the pronunciation right. Okay, I would like to hear French people pronouncing Nigerian names. I tried my best, so don't come for me, don't kill me or stuff just as anything like that. She was born in Jeanne. She was born in 1756 to her father Jacques, who was the bastard son of King Henry II and his mistress Nicole. So Jeanne's mother Marie was a maid servant that her father Jacques impregnated and insisted on marrying. See, this was so strange then, and his parents didn't want to give permission. It wasn't strange that he impregnated a maid, no. The strange thing was that, okay, after impregnating the maid, he insisted on marrying her. It was common then for nobles to pregnate their maids or peasants or something like that, like people that were not in their class. But the strange thing was insisting on marrying them and doing the right thing. And his parents pushed against it, and she actually had two older siblings that her parents first of all gave birth to before they eventually agreed to their marriage in 1755. And Jeanne was born a year later in 1756, which was actually their first legitimate child, even though she had two older siblings. Jacques inherited an estate from his father, but not necessarily the amount of money needed to run the estate. So it didn't take long, because Jacques was a drunk. Her mother Marie was like, she spent lavishly on unnecessary things. It didn't take long for what little money they had to dry up, and like that was the start of hardship in their life. So I'm going to speed run through our backstory, because I'm going to drop a like link for an article down below concerning the full like backstory, because it's very very long and I don't want this video to just go on for like 3 hours. So I'm just going to speed run through the necessary parts of her backstory and what led her to become who she is, like, or who she eventually became, like world's greatest scammer. When Jeanne was young, her father, like in dreams of getting them a better life, moved them to Paris, which unfortunately did not work out, and when she was 6, her father died. Her mother Marie abandoned them, and they eventually were taken in by the Marquis de Boulainville, whose, like I said, do not kill me for any wrong pronunciations, whose wife um whose wife uh whose wife was able to prove their link to royalty and secured a royal stipend for them. Her brother used the stipend to go to join the military, and she and her sister started boarding school. To cut a long story short, Jeanne ran away from the boarding school, dragged her little sister along with her, and returned back to her hometown. In their hometown, she was taken in by the Somont family. She married their nephew, Nicolas de la Motte. Or de la Motte, I can't remember the correct pronunciation again. She married their nephew, Nicolas de la Motte. She, in a whirlwind romance, you get what I mean now, auntie was pregnant, not any romance, anything. And then, but the funny thing was, the pregnancy was rumored not to even be his. It was rumored that the person that officiated their wedding, one bishop, was the one that actually got her pregnant instead. But nothing could be proven, and it ended up in a sad tale because medical science then was hit and miss. So she lost the baby's twins, which was very, very sad, and no matter what else she did later, that's not something that anybody should go through. Nicholas was an officer of the Gendarmerie. That's the precursor to the modern day police. They were both unfaithful, like both of them. None of them is even arguing with that. Both Nicholas and Jeanne were unfaithful. But Jeanne took it too far by sleeping with Nicholas's superior, and then the whole thing got exposed. Like, she slept with the superior to gain favor for Nicholas, but the whole issue got exposed, so Nicholas got fired, and so he lost his job, and having no other source of income, they eventually went to Paris to see like whether they would gain favor in the noble courts of Paris. So Jeanne is a hustler, so she tried to gain favor and fell in and out, mostly out with Parisian nobility, and they seemed to be down on their luck until one fateful day, Madame de Boulainville, if you remember, the person that took them in when their mom abandoned them, when her mom abandoned like she and her siblings, Madame de Boulainville introduced Jeanne to Cardinal Louis de Rohan. This is where the main story starts. This is the beginning of the end. Cardinal Louis de Rohan was the most noble to ever noble. Like, he descended from a line of kings that ruled during the time of Brittany. That's before France was even a thing. Cardinal Louis, although he was a cardinal in the church, Catholic church for that matter, he was not particularly attached to his chastity vows. Here was Ashawo. He was rich, influential, and willing to sleep around. Exactly Jeanne's type. And so Jeanne maneuvered somehow, farms him, everything, until eventually Jeanne became his mistress. Jeanne's relationship with the cardinal paid off for her husband too. The cardinal got her husband a job as the bodyguard of a noble. But Jeanne was not satisfied with this. She didn't want pennies. Like, no, it's not kobo she wants. She eventually turned to scamming the cardinal. And I wonder, like, how did she make it possible? See, the cardinal was not originally in support of the current king's marriage to Marie Antoinette. So when the marriage eventually went through, the cardinal had a very rocky relationship with the current king and queen. So he was trying to do anything possible to get into their good graces, but nothing so far had been successful. Jeanne, with the help of a forger, like, she had a personal forger. That's how deep into scams this lady was. She forged letters between her and the queen, faking a closer relationship that they had. And then she told the Cardinal Louis that the reason why the relationship wasn't public was because she was a fixer for the queen, and she got rid of the queen's like little problems and little issues, so they wouldn't become scandals for her. And using like this method, she scammed the cardinal out of 120,000 francs. And like, eventually, but that was not her goal. She had bigger fish in mind. 120,000 francs to her was little money. Oh, and she did this by pretending that the queen, as Marie Antoinette, was asking for loans from the cardinal through her for things that her husband would not get for her, and she didn't want her husband to know she had. Then came the affair of the diamond necklace, which was, like, I think the most, I don't know to call it, if I would call it completely successful, but quite possibly one of the biggest diamond heists ever in the history of mankind. See, Boma and Basange, the most influential or well-known jewelers in France at that time, made this completely bespoke. I saw a picture of it. Okay, I don't know where anybody is going to wear that necklace to, but that necklace was the most blinged out of all blinged out necklaces I've ever seen in my time. If you go out with that necklace, I don't know where you are going to go to, but they will rob you. No, in fact, rich people will rob you sef. They created that necklace for Madame du Barry, that's King Louis the 15th mistress. But the king died before the commission was completed, and his son was like, lie to lie, oh, he's not going on the hook for that kind of wahala, that kind of gbese. He's not going to accept that kind of gbese in his life. His father is the one that made necklace for mistress. He's not his own mistress, so he's not paying for that kind of gbese. He should go and find who will buy it. And when they went to meet the queen was like, that's Marie Antoinette. She was like, she too, she's not going to buy a necklace that was meant for a mistress. Like, that's the biggest insult to her ever. And when they were shopping around to other nobles, that shit was so expensive that even the other nobles, like the people that actually had money, they were like, they're not buying it because the necklace is basic, the necklace is too expensive. That's when they realized that it's like it's only the king and the queen, that is only royalty, I will be able to afford the necklace. And the problem was, how things worked then was that before the commission was completed, it's not like even now that we say, okay, you pay half and half, maybe you pay 70-30, pay 70 first, and when it's finished you pay 30. No, they footed the bill of all the materials, of everything, like all the materials to make the necklace. So the whole, like, they were carrying the what they call it, they were bearing the cost. Exactly, they were bearing the cost of everything on their head. So if this necklace doesn't get bought from them, they are bankrupt. They don't have any money again because they spent it all on making this stupid necklace that nobody wants now. Diane saw her opportunity. Like, this was finally her time to shine. She, first of all, this lady was diabolical. She spread a rumor around the peasants, the town folk, everybody, that, and even the nobility editor, Marie Antoinette, actually really wanted that necklace, but didn't believe that her husband would get the necklace for her because of the cost of the necklace. I'll tell you why that rumor was diabolical later. Then, with the help of a Marie Antoinette impersonator that was just a sex worker, her husband knew that really resembled Marie Antoinette, a forged letter from her to from Marie Antoinette to Cardinal Louis, and he believed that Cardinal Louis had that the queen was in love with him because of the recent heated tones that their letters had taken. Now they were now practically sexting with each other, and the cardinal thought he was actually talking to the real queen, and the queen was in love with him, blah blah blah. The cardinal agreed to pay for the necklace for the queen, but the agreement the cardinal made with the jewelers was that he would pay only the first installment and the queen would pay the rest. They settled for the sum of 1 million lires, which in today's money is about $11 million for a necklace. $11 million. I'm not even going to convert that to naira. That is the money for a whole estate, not even land, a whole estate. You will build yourself, you will buy land and build a whole estate for you and your entire family to live in. And not even estate in one small place, so estate like Asokoro or Maitama or Lekki, that kind of money is what is going to turn into in Nigeria. And then he paid the first installment, and it was like, okay, the jewelers will meet the queen for the rest of the money. That was the agreement he also reached with Marie Antoinette. But there was now wahala. Marie Antoinette was not like aware of anything. So even when the jeweler sent her letter that they've not seen her wearing the necklace that she bought now, she didn't understand what the letter was about, so she just threw it away, which was a mistake on her part. She should have investigated further. But when they gave the necklace to Cardinal Louis, that's Boma Mbasan, when they gave the necklace to Cardinal Louis, he gave it to Jeanne and her husband, from which they were like somebody would carry it to Marie Antoinette. Instead, Nicholas carried the necklace to London, and it's in London that they split the necklace apart and started selling it for parts, so that the diamonds won't suddenly flood the market and they won't be able to track like the whereabouts of the necklace. But eventually now, the queen wasn't aware that any payment had occurred, and Jeanne and her husband Nicholas, they were banking on the fact that maybe the Cardinal Louis will be so embarrassed about the whole thing when the jewelers would confront him about later payment and the fact that the queen had not paid, and they were banking on the fact that maybe he wouldn't want his affair with the queen getting out, that he would just shamefully pay the rest of the payments. But instead, Boma Mbasan approached one of the ladies in waiting of the queen, that's one of her top lady Sha, and explained everything to her that okay, they need their money, or the money, the film has not finished. She was shocked, that this kind of thing cannot get out though. They went to confront the queen like together. The jewelers got an audience with the queen, and they exposed like the cardinal, that the cardinal only paid for one part of the necklace, so he didn't pay for the rest, and they were here for the remaining payments. So they dragged in the cardinal. The cardinal also exposed like, this is what Jeanne and Nicholas have been telling me since, so that she's this, she's close to you, people are practically best friends, that you've been asking for money since. And the whole thing has become this big thing, this like public stuff, because the queen's reputation was on the line. They were basically accusing the queen of being an adulteress and a thief, and those are very serious accusations for the queen of a whole country or a whole kingdom. I don't know which one France was then. So it had to be a public trial. They even dragged in Marie Nicole. That was the Marie Antoinette impersonator, and Rito, that's the name of the forger. Marie Nicole denied them flat. She was like, she thought it was a prank, that they were playing on the cardinal, that she had nothing to do with anything. Meanwhile, Rito made a deal. He like confessed to everything, explained everything that had happened, and then they let him go. The cardinal, what I said before, that the cardinal was the most noble to ever noble out of every noble. He had to apologize, but even that was even reduced self. But he was eventually exiled and sent out of France. Jeanne denied that she ever committed any wrongdoing, that she ever stole anything. She claimed that she was truly close to Marie Antoinette, and that Marie Antoinette was just denying her to save her own ass, that she was Marie Antoinette's fixer, that suddenly Marie Antoinette does not know her again when the whole thing is now out in public and everything. But they were eventually found guilty and sentenced. She and her husband were sentenced to be flogged heavily, to be branded as thieves, and then her husband was sent to the galleys to work. Meanwhile, she was sentenced to life imprisonment, but with the help of somebody she never admitted to, or she never rolled on, she escaped to London from her prison. With all these things going on, people will be thinking the public will support Marie Antoinette as the person that was wrong, as per somebody impersonated her. But the thing is, Marie Antoinette was Austrian, and the French had a deep prejudice towards Austria, and that was one of the major reasons why they didn't even want the king to marry her in the first place, because she was not French. And that was a big reason they did not like her. So they believed Jeanne, especially because that rumor I talked about, that Jeanne spread that Marie Antoinette actually wanted the necklace, but She claimed she didn't want the necklace because she didn't want her husband to know, because the necklace was so expensive. That rumor had spread everywhere, even to like the peasants and everybody. So what everybody was saying then, even when the whole thing came out and the forger explained like the whole truth and even brought out letters as proof, what everybody thought then was that, and they were even saying it pretty blatantly, they were like, Marie Antoinette was cheating on her husband and she was too greedy, or because she was caught, that's why she's now denying the lady. Because even everybody, Jeanne had planted herself in everybody's mind as Marie Antoinette's fixer. It was just the nobles that were like king and queen that were not aware of everything that was going on. But to everybody else around, she had established her reputation as Marie Antoinette's fixer. So everybody had known her as that for a while. So for somebody that claimed to be somebody's fixer to suddenly be going down for something that they believe the queen did, people were really pushing heavily against Marie Antoinette. And they were like, that was one of the turning points in French history that eventually led to the French Revolution. Funny thing is, eventually Jeanne in London, like that's where she escaped to, because her husband had squandered all the money from the sale of the jewels, which I cannot personally understand how that's possible, considering how like the amount of money that was made. She published a tell-all memoir where she still stuck to her story and painted herself as the hero and Marie Antoinette as the villain, and claimed that Marie Antoinette threw her under the bus. She died like 5 years later after the publishing of her book, but till her death, that lady still stuck to her guns that Marie Antoinette was the person who sent her to do all these things. That's the end of this video. Please don't forget to like my video so that more people can see it, so you can help me out. Don't forget to comment, tell me who you believe, because in things like this you cannot really judge, because I was not there, you were not there. Anything is possible. History is really written by the victors. They might actually have taken advantage of the fact that they had higher power than Nicholas and Jeanne to just throw them under the bus and save her reputation. I really don't know. I was not there, even though like historians agree that that's what was going on, but I might have just been supporting the queen. And of course, subscribe too, so you can see more and more videos from me. Love you. Bye.